Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to episode 2 of the Pod Filter. Obviously, I don't usually introduce these videos, and that's because I lost the footage. Don't know how, don't know when. So it's been replaced with a time lapse of Adam's journey down south, and a picture of my dog. So yeah, obviously enjoy the Pod Filter episode 2 regardless. The audio has been up for a while now, but just been trying to work out, just trying to find footage. Anyway, let's get started with the episode. And go. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Simon.
And g'day, I'm Adam, and this is Season 1, Episode 2 of the Pod Filter. In this episode, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. And it's not the 4 big pink ones I can see because I've been drinking Dale Ale for even longer than we expected because we forgot to hit record.
Oh boy, that's going to be a... Oh mate.
I'm not going to let you live it down.
Far out.
Anyway, you've got to play the intro music now.
Yeah. Simon, play the intro music.
Simon.
Go. So yeah, welcome back to episode 2 of the Pod Filter. Obviously following suit the first very successful episode, which has glowing reviews and 1,000 people want to be on, and it's going to be incredible. Thank you all for the feedback, which we haven't read yet, but will.
Yes,
but, you know.
And sorry for anyone that we pissed off and offended, because there's inevitable. And we never mentioned all the background people that are involved in this. So camera guy, Mr. Mike, and Mr. Stan are holding the camera for us, and the lighting is done by Mr. Phillips. We've got to thank all of those people for being involved in this. It's a huge team.
You would think that Adam has a child with all the dad jokes that he does. He doesn't. He doesn't.
I have 2 cats. It's the same thing.
He tells dad jokes to his cat.
Well, they complain less.
Yeah, this is true. So thanks again to the Dale Bar and Bistro for allowing us this wonderful space. It is probably not a good idea to tell you what date it is, but I will do so. It is the 10th of September. The reason I say that is because it's probably going to take me a very long time to edit these, but it will speed up, I promise you.
You can't rush perfection.
No, you can't. You can't, or in my case, not even start.
Can't fail what you don't start.
Well, yeah, this is true. And for anyone that is wondering what the hell that joke was earlier, we were just recording for 6 minutes without the mixer plugged in or recording. So, yeah, go me.
Well, yeah, these things happen. At least we got it out early. It would have been worse if it was like an hour in and then you've gone.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, I would have lost my shit.
So anyway, the episode is all about the, what would you call it? The beef in the car scene.
Car scene.
So things like Holden versus Ford and Mercedes versus Porsche and Audi, and even some things that are kind of crazy. So the traditional hot rods don't like the rat rod guys. And I mean, the biggest thing of all is you're rice, I'm muscle. And here we are getting along without punching up. At an Armadale pub, no less.
Yeah, there should definitely be a riot right now. Like,
there should be.
I should probably be being beaten up by about 20 people with the car that I drive here. Yes.
To be fair, I have been banned from a pub in Mandurah for being involved in a fight when the Ford Car Club and the Commodore Car Club both came to the pub at the same night.
Ooh.
Yeah, so luckily it's under new ownership now, so I'm probably allowed back. But
now you've said that, they're going to look through your records.
Probably.
And be like, oh, this guy's not allowed back anymore.
I need a cut lunch and a day pass to get down to Mandurah now anyway.
Yeah, this is true. And it's not even just between scenes, it's even in scene as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like I used to be, well, obviously still involved in the Honda scene, but back in England, one of my best mates had a Honda Integra DC2 Type R. Not the VTIs that are more common here. They actually had Type Rs in England. Type Rs here are like 10 to 15 grand, I think. So they're not cheap. And he owned both a JDM one and a UK one, for those that know what those are. But obviously we were all about stance and fitment and getting the look. So it was lowered, static, on coilovers, very low with good fitment. And you would not believe the shit that he got in for having
Because it's modified.
for having a ruined like a Japanese icon, and oh my god, it's a driver's car. Why would you do that? And it was unreal.
Yeah, and look, just to have a look at that, you've only got to look at last week. We spoke about the 3 different Zs that are getting built on YouTube at the moment, and the hate in the comments about exactly what you're talking about, the purity, which Moog refers to quite often when they have to cut something on the Z. There's always the the purists that get upset. And then in my world, we have what we call concourse edition. So a lot of muscle car people want to restore them back to factory, down to the nittiest, grittiest levels where they want the original chalk marks that were on it as it went through the production line that would have been wiped off. And there's actually a type of build called a day 2 build, where it was the second day you owned it and you put a better set of mags and stuff like that on it.
Right.
But a few years ago now, I was at a car show with the Tank, which you guys need to go to Joy Drive and check out if you haven't already. But my 66 Mercury has $20 worth of rattle can paint on it, because paint's the last thing that you do. Well, I believe it's the last thing you do. I'm not going to be putting motors in and out with a really nice paint job on it. But it was parked up, and me and Gemma were sitting nearby, and we had this older lady drag her, I'm assuming, husband over to see this car with the eyes on it, because the eyes is what gets everyone. And the old bloke goes, "Oh, this is no good. This is like getting a supermodel and dressing her up in tracky dacks." So
it's just mental.
Oh, look, we just roll with it. It's kind of a term that me and Gemma use now, is the supermodel and tracky dacks. I thought it was quite funny, but it's crazy and it just happens all the time and everywhere. I mean, the car scene has come so far. I mean, you've only got to look at the magazines. Remember the car mags like Street Machine and that used to be 50% cars and 50% half-naked women. They've kind of learnt, and I'm sure there's probably a few people that are upset that the naked women are gone, but we've got to move on and evolve. And we've got that many outside haters for the car scene. I mean, I want to say the police are onto us, but they're just doing their job.
Yep.
The people that write the rules are against us. They're out to get us, you know what I mean? So we've got to band together, regardless of if you're static, like stance or anything, or your muscle or whatever else. We've got to band together, otherwise this thing that we love's going to get...
You just have to look at all the Queensland stuff going on where they're like defecting...
Defected lifted vehicles at the moment. That's pretty crazy. And again, I'm sure you guys are already aware of it, but if not, there's been a load of stuff on Facebook and other places at the moment where they had a bit of a sting operation in the Gold Coast, and any modified four-wheel drives they were pulling up and arresting, and it was quite interesting to see that the four-wheel drive vehicles that the police were using could have been done under the exact same rules.
Yeah, it's like, this is a story for another day, but
it's a couple of days worth of talking.
Yeah, gotcha.
But then, going back to the rule riders, we're a nanny state, and I think we're a nanny country. Yep. I think they all refer to it. I mean, the Americans just laugh when they hear some of the rules and regulations we have. Well, they're all laughing at us. I mean, the Japanese can't believe that you're not allowed to have a blow-off valve, but you're allowed to drink and drive here.
Yep.
Which is the reverse there. And we had in WA, we had a Rally Australia stage.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, a World Rally stage here for a little while, and it got shut down because the community, in quotation marks, believed that it was inciting hoons, and hoon behaviour, seeing these cars flying around the track. So they compromised and said, look, we're getting rid of it, but we will get the Red Bull Air Race instead. So people were kind of okay with it. Look, we're losing one form of motorsport, but we're getting another one. We had one Red Bull Air Race, and the community saw that it was hooning in planes and shut it down because they didn't want to incite hoon planes. Or hoon pilots.
Pilots.
And now we've got nothing. Nothing on a global scale.
Yeah.
In WA, at least. Even though one of the world's best current F1 drivers, Ricky Ricardo, is from our neck of the woods, we don't have.
Good old Danny boy.
Yeah, he's got so many different home tracks, as he calls them, because being Red Bull and being of the heritage that he is, as well as being Australian.
Carl, there's a rivalry right there. Formula One versus like touring cars and stuff like that.
Yeah. I find it really funny. I like watching NASCAR stuff since my car was built.
Yep.
Originally to be a NASCAR.
Yeah.
They always refer to the F1 rules when they're talking about the rule changes in NASCAR.
Right.
You never hear anyone ever in the F1 world refer to NASCAR and their rules. It's like NASCAR doesn't exist in the F1 rules. I just find it's really funny where they say we're trying to get up to F1 standards, and F1's never. We're trying to get to NASCAR standards.
But like Formula One's always supposed to be like the epitome of racing, and
and there's a whole topic again is F1. I mean, I love watching F1. I've been trying to get out to the Singapore F1 because that's where a lot of Gemma's family live.
Yeah.
It'd be great to go and see it, but.
So should we get back to muscle versus rice?
Muscle versus rice. That's the big thing, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be really surprised that you and I are sitting here together chatting about car stuff without throttling each other, basically.
Yep.
And pardon the car pun.
And it's interesting because like I have this conversation on Facebook with people.
Yeah.
I say have this conversation. It's more like defending a more open-minded point of view. That just the amount of people, it's very ripe in America. I've noticed, where people like will see my car and just say the most ridiculous things about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, well, hold on a sec. Like you can drive what you want, and I'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, there's some things which I'm gonna dislike as in like an opinion form, like some really bad rice, like a Chev badge on a Holden.
Yeah.
Like,
let's not start there. If my dad is listening to this, which I know he will, we'll wait until you're on the show to talk about Chev badges on Holdens.
Oh God!
Because I love the shit story about that. He's got a Maloo Ute with a Chev badge. Which makes me look bad. It's all right.
So yeah, like obviously people are going to have opinions about other cars, but just some people are so narrow-minded.
There's nothing wrong with having opinions on other cars. You can go, oh yeah, I don't really like what he's doing. I wouldn't do that. But you can't then go up to that guy and go, that's just shit. You shouldn't have done this. This goes against every fibre of my means. I mean, there's a really good sticker going around saying, if you want to change what I've done with my car, you pay me and I'll do it. You pay for the change and I'll do it. But, it's my car. I built it for my enjoyment, not for you. That being said, if you built it for your enjoyment, then take it to a car show.
Yeah,
you're kind of showing off as well. But the best thing is all of this is changing. People like Jason from Custom Cars and Coffee that's doing all-inclusive stuff and no hate stuff. It's changing for the better eventually. It's going to be a slow burn to get there, but.
Yeah, like, and don't get me wrong, like I've noticed a big change. Like the I guess the muscle car and hot rods and Fords and Holdens and Hondas to some degree get along a little bit better, but it's still so far to go. And I find it very hard to explain why. The only reason that I can think of is that I can say this because I drive a Honda, but probably. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say probably 70 to 80% of Honda drivers are idiots because they're accessible and they're easy to do stuff to.
And they're a lot of people's first car, and everyone's an idiot when they start out.
So obviously the worldwide community will see people doing God knows what to Hondas, and it becomes a trend, and just it's human nature. I don't care what anyone says. It's human nature to categorise Honda drivers in that subset.
Yeah, absolutely, and it goes for all makes and models as well. Like I always say, I judge people by the car they drive, not their skin tone or race or anything like that. And it's probably not the right thing to do either. You should be, but there's some vehicles and some people that drive those vehicles. But Again, it's changing for the better, and going up and chatting to people that have these cars that are different, and you suddenly realise that they're just as passionate as we are about cars. And then with all this hate stuff too, there's a whole counterculture where people purposely build cars to piss people off. I mean, you've only got to take my PT Cruiser, which we're not going to talk about, but it keeps coming up. I used to love people getting upset about that. I mean, there was a stage there where it had hubcap spinners.
Right.
Yeah. And you could just imagine, the carry-on you get from putting that on your car. But then, I know quite a few people that will build a car just to get people rolled up. It's like the trolls on the internet kind of thing,
Yeah.
No doubt the trolls that are in the comments of this.
Yes, can you only imagine? And it's funny because people will purposely avoid going to a show because a certain type of car will be there.
Yeah.
Like I have seen that. I've witnessed
absolutely.
that.
And not just shows like cruises and stuff as well. They feel that they're unwelcome or they're protesting against a certain.
Yeah, and it just blows my mind that there's people out there that won't go to a car show and will miss out on a great experience with possibly great human beings because there's a car there which they don't approve of. That's just absolutely mental.
They're not real car people, I don't think.
No.
I think a true car person, it's been said by everyone, I'm not the first to say it, but a true car person likes all of them, likes anyone else that's a car person regardless of what they're into.
100%.
But so this is our topic for the night, and I'm sure everyone has 2 cents to put in on this.
Oh my God, please comment on your experience on what you think about muscle versus rice, Ford versus Holden.
All the things, well, it's Ford, GM and Mopar.
Yeah.
And I admittedly pay out on the GM and Mopar guys a lot, and I just want to say now, for the record, it's all in jest. I have some really good friends. Brian, if you're listening, has a HZ panel van. I want to say HZ panel van, and then John, who's a friend of both of us, has Mopars and therefore Hordes. So anyone that's into Mopars has all the Mopars and all the parts. But he's got some very cool cars as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not that upset that I'll.
And if you see me out at a show, I'm saying me particularly because Honda gets probably the most hate on the planet. It's
up there.
It's definitely up there as the most hate. Come talk to me. Let's talk cars because I can
promise I won't record it and use it back as evidence.
Yeah. And we'll talk cars. We'll talk your car. We'll talk my car. Maybe I can convince you otherwise about Hondas in general and Honda and people. Yeah, because that's all it takes. It just takes a discussion.
It does, and you've got to appreciate the mech regardless of the body, basically.
Yep.
And that goes for a lot of other things. Just in life in general, without getting too
philosophical
or whatever else you want. I have been drinking, but it's changing. That's the main thing, and I'm all pro change on this kind of thing. Yeah.
So it's in your opinion, why do muscle people hate on rice so much?
I think particularly between muscle and rice, it's a generational thing. I think there's a lot of I find time and time again I'm kind of the youngest person in a lot of the muscle car things. It's generally older people, and then the rice guys seem to be younger than me kind of thing. I'm that Generation X in the middle kind of thing. I think it's more of a generational thing than anything else. And then it's like with all things, it's lack of knowledge. They don't understand, you know. They just assume, it's a Honda, so it costs nothing. It was all done on the cheap. It's not like this Mustang that I've got where I had to get parts from America and had to spend a fortune on it. And then once you talk to the guy with the Honda that's had to get all the parts from Japan, and it's just as expensive, and they've got to have computer systems and all the rest of the stuff. There's a lot more parts, like physically more parts in it. We're going to talk about YouTube in a minute, but the latest episode of B is for Build, he's doing the wiring harness.
Yeah, watch that today.
150 pounds of wire. And then he says in it, if it was a Chev motor, it'd be one wire to start it. That's it.
Yes, that's true.
So, but I think that about does it for this topic. It was a bit light on the ground, I think, but plans are for the next one to have a third person here. Maybe even 2 more people. So.
Yep, and I will just add, because obviously I'm a Honda guy, I just want to defend Hondas quickly, is that one of the arguments that probably Hondas get most is that they're slow. Now, I don't disagree with that comment.
Yeah.
However, there is context to that comment, right? Because, yes, Hondas have no torque. However, there is the argument that if you look at it on a litre basis, like a 1.6... having 158 brake horsepower is actually pretty phenomenal, and I think is still one of the, probably not anymore, but was one of the highest horsepower outputs per litre at one point in its generation. But they're not fast because they rev so high. Now, so when people say, but Hondas are slow, it's because you're not driving it correctly. So people that get in a Honda and like, this is slow, it's because they're just driving it to the shops. Yeah,
because they're used to a V8 and shifted at 4,000 RPM.
Yep. So that they're driving along, they see the tacho go to like 4 or 5. They're like, oh my god, I have to shift.
It's screaming its guts out. Yeah.
Take that same car into the hills, shift it at 8.5 where it needs to be shifted, stay in the VTEC rev band, and it is such a phenomenal car.
So what you're saying basically is it's not how big the thing that you own is, it's what you do with it.
Yep.
Take from that
100%. To all the women listening, that is 100%. You're going to agree with that right now.
And the blokes listening.
Yes, very true. Very true.
But, I have managed not to refer to any lawnmowers this whole topic.
It's so funny because literally... I think it was on the train home today. Someone posted on the on one of the Honda groups, the Perth Honda group, and was just like I don't know if it was don't know if it was supposed to be a joke or what. And they were like, what's the etiquette for saying hello to another Honda? Like, do you beep or do you rev or fingers?
Or while you're driving.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of jokes, and I was just like, you have to get out and hand them like a gardening business card. So does that mean like Mazdas and MX-5 give them a hairdressing card? Yeah. So if you're an MX-5 driver, you have to do the scissors sign, not the chop sign, just the scissors sign.
Right, yeah. And then probably if you're a Commodore driver, you say, I'll catch you up at the doll office.
Yes.
I'm going to get in so much trouble.
So many stereotypes.
Think back to the 10th, which it is today, and it's been raining, and it's a double horsepower day for any Commodores. There's just so many peg leggers around roundabouts and in the poles, just everywhere.
100%.
Yeah.
So, I think you're right. I think that brings us to the end of the first half.
So we get to play the ads.
Ad break.
So these are the ads. Listen to them or don't. We're not your mum. But just bear in mind, we're not getting any money off these ads. The ones for this place, this awesome pub that lets us come in and sit down and record for nothing when it's actually closed. And the second one's for my work, which pays for the car parts.
Yes, and don't forget, after you hear these ad breaks, come on down to the Dale and tell them the Pod Filter sent you.
Absolutely.
Please.
Yeah. Same with Smart Freight. When you call up and book a demo, it's with me, so we can talk about freight and we can talk about cars.
All right, Simon, roll the ads.
Do the ad bits.
The Dale Bar and Bistro, 229 Joel Street, Armidale, linked with the adjacent Armidale Sports Bar, both offering a complete food and beverage experience. Our comprehensive menus offer wholesome and high-quality eating for both you and your family. Our facilities and specialised entertainment provides you with a friendly and energetic atmosphere. You can find our details in the show notes of this episode of The Pod Filter, or call us on 9399 2515.
You're a logistics manager. You're responsible for getting product to retailers timely and efficiently. Pity you can't. Consignment notes are time-consuming. Freight rates change day to day, company to company, destination to destination, and everyone wants it their own way. If your company had IFS Smart Freight software, it would do electronic consignment notes, and IT can automatically choose the most effective way to send any consignment. Take control, Logistics Manager. ifssmartfreight.com. Smarter, faster, cheaper.
So, of course, you watch the ads. Thank you very much. And listen. Of course, you listened to the ads. This is a podcast, Simon, not a video. Obviously, there is a video for YouTube. Don't forget to check out the video on YouTube, by the way, on the Joy Drive channel.
Yeah, and if you're watching the video, listen to the podcast because there's probably a load of extra stuff in there that you might miss out on the video.
This is true. So, second half is the stuff that we do every episode, for those that are new, which is very likely because this is only our second one. So, we're going to start off with YouTube. Something very close to my heart.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's because I usually watch it on my phone up here.
yeah, in bed, like, oh my god. You need one of those. Those.
I got one. I got one of those things. I got it off a sale on Facebook.
No way.
And Gemma was so disappointed when I said I got something for the bedroom, and it was just a whole
something to distract.
Well, there's way too much information, but
yeah.
Anyway, so YouTube. Anyone you want to talk about in particular, other than yourself?
No. To be honest, I've only watched two of the ones on the list.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right, so we'll start off with Home Built by Jeff because we only really touched base on him, them last week or last podcast, and I love his stuff. I found it about halfway through him building the Porsche,
right.
Or Porsche, sorry, use the correct terminology. I'll get hate in the comments. Just the stuff he does is amazing. All in his backyard. So he's a firefighter, I believe, by day. And then he does this stuff as well as he does like mural painting and stuff as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, pretty. And he's got a separate YouTube channel about fixing up the house that they're in as well.
Right.
So, when he's not doing the house, he's doing the cars. And the Porsche is very nearly done, but then the motor work kind of got in the way and it's still not quite finished. He actually went to California twice to a really cool shop that specialises in Porsche rebuilds and stuff. So that's really cool. And then in the interim while he was doing that, he got a Volkswagen Beetle.
Right.
That it's called John Lemon. Because it was yellow and it's a bug.
Right.
And that's damn near finished now. He's painted it. He painted the rims in the last episode that I saw to put back on it. Just for a quick turnaround build that he's done on it, it's amazing the amount of work. And then he's one of these guys with the 240Zs.
Right.
And his one is a restoration one. So we just found out what colour it is.
Yep.
Not going to spoil it for anyone. You have to go and watch to find out.
Yes.
Because that's only just come out.
Yep.
But yeah, I love his stuff and love to have him on our podcast. I know he's been on a couple of podcasts in America before.
Yep.
So yeah, you never know. Might have him on.
That's right. When we get popular, we'll fly them out as well. Just to
to a pub in Armidale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Show them the best sights of Perth.
They might get a little bit sus when we lock our doors when we cross the train lines, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, that'd be cool. And then Mighty Car Mods, Too Sexy, still going. They whacked the turbo on and Turbo Yoda insisted that it be sticking through the grill.
Honestly, I was watching the episode, and I think it's probably one of the best Mighty Car Mods episodes that I've ever seen. Just the chemistry that those two have. I was laughing half the fucking time.
So this is Marty and Turbo Yoda.
Yeah, and just like when he's holding the turbo, and Marty's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "It's an Evo."
It has to go this way.
And Marty's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "The internet says so, Marty."
Yeah, the internet says.
And it's just so hilarious because it's 100% true.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it was so good.
It's so good. So those guys, Turbo Yoda and Woodsy, both in stateside at the moment doing not Power Tool, the other one.
Drag
Week. Yeah, yep. They've taken the Cressida over, and then they're going to do a crossover episode with some YouTubers in Canada, which I'm not sure who they are.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I don't watch any Canadian ones.
Yeah, that's
that's
like
a shame. They
think
should
of.
have met up with Cletus. That would have been incredible.
Oh, they probably will. Cletus will be out.
Yeah.
Because I know that Blasphemy's there. Blasphemy just passed tech spec.
Actually, in actual fact, Cletus is at LS Fest. I don't know if that's... I think it might be separate to Drag Week.
Well, Drag Week just... the inspections and stuff finished today, our time.
Oh, interesting.
Which is, tomorrow their time.
Yeah.
It's weird how that works, but... So,
How is the future?
So, Blasphemy's in... running the best times it's ever done for us. So Blasphemy is Finnegan's Chevy.
Yeah,
Gasser Chevy.
Gasser.
Speaking of, I've got Finnegan's FSM hat. I got it the day they came out, so it only just turned up Friday, I think.
Oh, sick.
So, very cool. I think it's probably one of the first in Australia.
Yeah.
I'd like to think so, anyway. I actually asked them on their podcast when they were going to be available and got a link a little bit early. So.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously the podcast is Kimmy and Finnegan Show. Talk about car stuff like we do, and Dukes of Hazzard. Which,
yes, they love Dukes of Hazzard, don't they?
They review Dukes of Hazzard episodes and a couple of movies here and there as well, which is really cool. So if this podcast isn't enough for you, I highly recommend you go and listen to their stuff too. But subscribe to us.
Yeah. First. Obviously. So, Beers for Build.
So now, Beers for Build,
Ooh.
he pulled the wiring harness out of the Beamer while it was sitting on cylinder blocks.
Controversial.
Yeah, and stunk of fuel. But he did a really good job pulling that out. I just looked at it and cringed thinking that.
Just, Chris, man, I love you, man, but you have to stop that shit.
No, don't stop. Don't stop. I love hard work. I can watch other people do it all day.
But I don't want you dead. I don't want you dead.
Doing the dodgy stuff.
Oh, my God.
But so 150 pounds worth of... He couldn't lift it. He put it in the box, the cardboard box, and the arse fell out of the cardboard box.
It was funny because he put it on the creeper.
Yeah, to get it into the shed. So his next step now is to thin that out, take all the crap out of it.
It's funny because he touches on this in the episode. When everyone's like, "Oh, you need to go standalone."
Yeah,
and it's like that's not quite the whole story because, as he says, the gearbox is all controlled by the ECU. The crazy fuel pump, the airbag sensors, and BMWs are known for if one sensor fucks up, the car won't start.
Yeah. Early Commodores do the same.
Like I get people's comments like, "Oh, go standalone because you're going to save." Oh, fucking hell, God knows how much weight. But I feel like he's. The problem is I feel like he's going to run into trouble whatever way he goes because there is so much wiring and there's going to be so many earths, many.
And look, this isn't his first rodeo either. He knows what he's doing, you know. And
this is true.
Yeah, like you would never get anything to talk to that gearbox other than Beamer. Yeah.
So yeah,
and he's got the BMW dash in there as well. So straight away, you've got to go with the standard harness.
Yeah, and at the end, he's like, "Oh, we're going to start it within the next week."
Well, he's going to have to because
that's
Chris, mate, buddy pal, if you're listening, I don't want to be that guy, but SEMA's October 30th, so you've got the pressure on.
Yeah,
mind you, SEMA spec cars are kind of well known for being static displayed cars that are
like prime example is Rusty.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, like
so anyone that's not up to date on Rusty's a slammed BMW.
Yep.
I can't remember the dude that built it, but
Mike begins with an M. I'm pretty sure it's Mike. Someone's going to correct me.
Someone will correct us.
Yeah, it was a great build. It made the whole mouthpiece down the side of the car very famous. Pretty much, if you search.
Well, other than the World War II.
Yes,
obviously,
where it was pulled from. So yeah, second in line is Rusty. Rusty Slamington is what his name is. Very short backstory. It was in the garage getting a rebuild, and the garage burnt down, and it kind of blew up the internet. People saying, "Oh, it's an insurance job. Oh my God, what are you doing?" And it kind of fell quiet for about 2 or 3 years. Now, what made Rusty Slamington a bit more famous is that it was Rusty, but he had these gold-plated Ronal turbos on them. absolutely incredible wheels. Anyway, I'm diverging. He then built the car for SEMA.
Yeah.
Oh God, a couple of years ago now.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
it
was
just kind of turned up out of nowhere.
incredible, absolutely incredible. Full tube frame chassis, incredible wheels. He modeled it on one of the old pro touring cars. So all the arches were all metal. The side skirts were, God, I think like an
nuts.
extra
You have to look it up.
100 mil each side or something.
I'll put pictures of it in.
But yeah, that was a SEMA car which didn't run. Not by any stretch of the imagination did it run. It wasn't plumbed in. I don't even think there was a gearbox. I can't. There was like some really substantial things missing.
Yeah.
But it was still at SEMA.
And it's kind of SEMA spec. So game over. Finnegan's boat, his drag boat.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, that was insane.
Was there last year, and same thing. It wasn't quite there, but it was close.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah, I think this time of year, especially in America, the heat is on to get things ready for SEMA, as well as Chris is going to be really pumping it out. But fingers crossed, I'm hoping he gets there. I really am.
For sure. And obviously, oh God, who's Chris working with now?
Eric
was at the shop getting the fuel tank sorted.
Yeah.
I can tell you this because by the time this podcast episode comes out, this will be a few weeks later, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that comes together.
Yeah. And then the last thing I was going to chuck in here, which isn't really YouTube. They did YouTube a bit like we're doing a podcast and also YouTube. Is this Joe Rogan podcast interview with Elon Musk?
You know that podcast? Like I haven't watched it, but that podcast lost Tesla like $1 billion in stock.
Yeah, 7%.
Like
insane. His stock went down.
Insane.
And look, I watched it because it was everywhere and it just kept coming up. And to be honest, Elon didn't do that much. It was Joe was greened out. He was weeded off his head. He was coming up with crazy things, like telling Elon that he needs to put magnets on the bumpers of the cars so if someone tries to crash in, it will repel them, and just weird. You always have your stoner mate that comes up with all these weird and wonderful fucking ideas. He was just doing that the whole time. And look, having a look at it a couple of times, I think he probably didn't really inhale. He just... but what do you do if someone puts that to you on camera? If he just said, no, I don't do that, he would have lost kudos kind of thing. And then if he did smoke and got high and said something stupid, then he would have lost. It was a no-win situation that he put him in. Yeah, I mean... It
was like 2 hours long as well, right?
Yeah. Because he's whacked out of his head. He's got no concept of time or anything, and it just goes on. I had to listen to a couple of other ones, and I mean... Look, he's never going to listen to us because, Hi, Elon. Oh, well, Elon or Joe. But I think... Hi, Joe. I think Joe kind of put him in a bad position there as well. Right. Yeah, and I think that 7% loss, Joe's got a bit to do with it. Right, yeah. But, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. I'd probably suggest it's not really worth going and watching it. Don't worry about losing that 2 hours of your life. Of that, in it. There's probably 1,001 highlight reels going around. And, I do feel for Elon. I think he gets shown in a really bad light a lot of time. But like he's that intelligent, and when you're that intelligent, you come across as eccentric. Yeah, and he's not the first. I mean, Tesla, the actual Tesla, was the same thing. He died without a cent in his hand because people took him for all his money and made him out to be an idiot. And if you want to see Elon in how I respect him, Marquez Brown, MKBHD, YouTuber, he went to the Tesla factory, to the Gigafactory, and walked around with Elon, I saw that. Talking about the factory and just general improvements about the robots and it's passing stuff overhead and he's going that's a waste. Get rid of the turntable. That was really cool. That's how I see Elon. And then standing in front of his own robot to test its safety. The bots. So the work I do is a lot with warehousing, and I've seen them kind of things around, which are kind of cool. And then actually, while we're in there talking about YouTube and Tesla, I forget his name, but the guy that repairs Teslas in his backyard.
Yes. I haven't watched any of his videos. I keep meaning to.
Yeah, really good. And just the struggles he has, like contacting Tesla for advice or for spare parts, and they just say no.
Yep.
Like Tesla's a bit like Apple, where it's enclosed environment and only we can work on it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The stuff he's doing is amazing.
Yeah.
And that Tesla that was on the 1320, where they stripped it all out and was street
Yeah,
racing
it was
it.
doing stupid numbers.
Yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, I think that should probably do it for our YouTube bits. YouTube's is
On
done.
to the next segment.
Okay, so Perth car shows, news and reviews. So I've got a little bit in there. I didn't actually.
This is going to be quick because I haven't been to any for a little while.
Well, it's only been a week since we recorded the last one.
true.
So.
And what I do know is that Classic Cars and Coffee was on Sunday.
Okay, not to be confused with Custom Cars and Coffee.
They are two very different things.
Yeah.
So you got Custom Cars and Coffee, which is sometimes now being referred to as just Cars and Coffee. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
And Classic Cars and Coffee is at UWA. Two very different beasts. Classic Cars and Coffee very much believe in stock classic cars.
Right.
Modified cars still get in, and Lamborghinis will still turn up, because I feel like this might be another topic for another podcast as well, is that Lamborghinis and those high-end cars for some reason feel a little bit more safer at Classic Cars and Coffee because of the people that go there. But that's, again,
It's a valid concern.
a topic for another day. But anyway, they it was an Aston Martin special because some Aston Martins are doing, as far as I'm aware, like a tour of Australia. So there's a bunch of classic that have driven across the Nullarbor.
I saw the bunch of them. Yeah, they were amazing to watch.
Whoa, okay. So yeah, there was like 50 Aston Martins there.
Yeah.
I've only seen pictures. One of my good photography friends, Ash Westwood, was there shooting for the Garage Journal. And his photos are incredible. Go check them out. It's going to be
Garage Journal is pretty
good
awesome.
coverage of that show. But sadly, I didn't go because I had some other things on.
Yeah, so I didn't really get to any car stuff during the week other than sitting in the couch, drinking beer, and I have my motor.
That's
trend
as good
on
a car show as any.
Yeah, well, I did little bits and pieces on my cars, but I have Motor Trend on demand, so I get to watch all the stuff on there, which is pretty awesome. I highly suggest anyone that's got Motor Trend on demand also get a VPN. Not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but get a VPN because there's only one or two things you can watch on it otherwise. And we won't go into that. But I did watch a lot of the Goodwood Revival that was on this weekend. Back in your old neck of the woods.
Yep, shout out to some of my friends that went. A lot of my friends go to that quite regularly.
Yeah, so the Revival is at the racetrack rather than the hill climb, which is Goodwood's Festival of Speed.
Yep, and you are encouraged to dress in period clothing, which
yes.
I absolutely love.
Right the way down to your kids. So there's a really popular video on Facebook that everyone's probably seen at the moment where they had a pedal car race on the track.
Yeah,
they had all the kids in that was really cool. But a couple of things I wanted to touch on were they had a race with Bentleys, Austins, Minis, and old Ford Galaxies. What? And that was just nuts. So these Galaxies have got the same chassis as my tank.
Yes,
So there was a really, really cool 65 Mercury Cyclone, so the year before mine.
Right.
And it was in the Richard Petty blue. And had all the Richard Petty's numbers on it, and unfortunately, it went into a hedge and smashed the front. And I shouted at the TV and scared the missus. She was a bit concerned when I was shouting and yelling and saying they crashed the fucking car, and she's going, "But it's in the shed." It's not my car; it's someone else's. Anyway, that was really cool, and so 7-litre, 420 big blocks. 460 big blocks versus minis. Yeah. And just the race is nuts. There was one from last year where they had the blue Mustang and the blue Mini battling it out, and the Mini was faster around the corners than the Mustang would catch him back up on the straights again and overtake you. And it was an epic battle. I'll put it in our socials for people to see. But and then the other thing I watched, which actually happened a couple of weeks ago, was the Pebble Beach Concorde d'Elegance.
Yes, okay.
Which is, it's not really my scene. This is a lot of expensive cars owned by expensive people, but still just the history involved in some of the cars. So they had this whole range of cars that were owned by Raj of Taj Mahal fame. All these cars that he'd had over the empire had over the time, and they were really, really cool to see. They had a load of Tuckers there, which I haven't seen in years. Tucker was a really oddball brand of car and truck. The post-war Citroens, the really early Citroens. So I knew about the 2CV, didn't know about the 1,000 other.
Yeah, and they're so funny looking.
Yeah,
so funny looking.
Yeah, they were all really interesting. And then loads of post-era sporting cars, which they always say, vintage era sporting cars. Yeah. So that was pretty cool for a weekend on the couch in between working on cars.
Check that out. That sounds pretty sick.
Yeah. Oh, look, Motor Trend On Demand is really good. I know a lot of people got really upset when Roadkill went off of YouTube and behind a paywall. There are ways where you can watch stuff a month late for free on there. It's just got ads in the middle and the ads that you're getting on YouTube, really. So it's no different. But I think it's worth it. I think it's $8 Australian, so $8 dues per month. And there's a load of content on there as long as you have the VPN.
Yeah. Sick. All right, cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. And that'll do for car shares and reviews.
Next segment. If there's music, we're going to play it, but there's not yet. But just think there's music yet.
There'll be something in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so car parts this week, not including the hat. Which, if Finnegan's ever listening, or you guys want to tag him in, tell him thank you very much for the hat. I got a load of stuff for my Mercedes.
Yes.
Sound very prim and proper when I say
my Mercedes.
My Mercedes.
Yes. Buys lots of things. He got a driver. He got a chauffeur.
I wish. Actually, no, I don't. I wouldn't trust anyone driving it. I've seen how my mates drive. Exactly word for word what I said in the tank episode. Yeah. I'll let you drive it and my mates.
Yep.
Hi, John. Right, so a load of eBay stuff, basically. Got a boost gauge for it because it's the compressor.
Yep.
Kind of interested to see what kind of boost it makes. It's really odd that it has a bypass valve on the supercharger, so it'll only make boost when the computer tells it to. It will divert straight away. So as soon as you let off the accelerator, it goes back into vacuum. Or if it doesn't have load, it goes in the vacuum. So it's quite interesting. I did actually, when I first got it, I worked out to put a switch on it to stop that from happening, but there's no discernible difference. The only difference is how much more fuel it consumes if you have it left on. But you don't get any more power or anything out of it. So anyway, so I've got the boost gauge. I got the German cup holder. So they didn't put these cup holders in the right-hand drive models because it folds out to the right, so it could hit you in the leg. It doesn't hit me, and I'm a big bloke. Anyone watching can tell. It doesn't actually hit me, but they were concerned that it might, so they don't. So that was $70 for a cup holder.
It's pretty rad, actually.
Yeah, it's very cool. Again, on the socials, I have videos of it, how it operates. And then my stainless exhaust bypass valve, which if there's any constabulary listening, just block your ears for a minute or so. But I'm sure pretty much everyone knows what I'm talking about is electronic valve in the exhaust, so it can bypass, well, not bypass the cat because it's going to be after the O2 sensors, but bypass the rest of the exhaust, which has no purpose other than for going through tunnels and sounding loud.
Yes.
In a race-controlled environment, not on the streets. Yeah.
Sing me the song of my people.
Yeah. So I spent way too much time on the weekend wiring up some funky buttons to operate it, and doing bits and pieces. And I'll be going to Kenwick Performance Centre. Shout out to Gary from Kenwick Performance Centre to get it up on the hoist and pull the exhaust out and weld her in.
Sick.
So hopefully for episode 3, there should be some videos on the socials of what it sounds like.
Yeah,
going through a race-controlled tunnel.
I'm looking forward to see how that sounds.
Yeah, well, it's still a 4-banger with
Yeah,
a supercharger on it, so I'm not expecting too many great things, but
Yep.
yeah, should be interesting.
Very nice.
And that's about it for car parts. So, did you get anything?
No. No.
Okay. Well, that makes that one nice and quick.
Yep. I bought an electric skateboard, which isn't
Ah.
here yet, and it's not a car part.
It doesn't matter. It's
And in,
still
and in actual
vehicle.
fact, it's going to be not replacing, but will be replacing my car during the week to commute to work. So in actual fact, it's detrimental to my car.
No, because you keep the car for racing.
Yeah, this is true. So yeah,
Preserve.
take that as you will.
So very Casey Neistat. Are you going to do some
Oh God, no.
real-time videos on it
No.
going through the city? No.
No, dude, those things like aren't slow. Like I'm not riding along holding my entire life, which is my camera in my hand, riding that thing.
Riding around.
Yeah, no, not a chance.
Well, I'll tell you what, it would be pretty slow with me on it. But
Nah, I'm sure it'll be all right still.
right.
Sure it'll be all right still.
okay, all right. So fun for under 5K.
Yes, I need to tell I didn't add it to the.
No, you always seem to hold out to show me, which is fine.
Not gonna lie, I literally found this at lunch today. I'm so unprepared.
To be fair, I was.
But
I had about 6 different ones.
I was keen. Oh,
So,
wait.
just to remind everyone, the premise of this, both me and Simon will be scouring buy and sells and all the rest of it to find the most fun car, fun in quotation marks, for under $5,000 that can be obtained this week or fortnight, depending on how far we go between episodes. But we don't have a winner for last week because someone's been really slack and hasn't posted the video yet, or the audio yet. So we don't know what the current score is, but
We will update you.
we will update you.
We will backtrack. That's
Yeah,
fine.
so if you really want to know, go check the socials. That's going to be the most up-to-date point of call. So by the time this video is up, we should at least have a definitive score for the last round. So last round, to refresh everyone, I had a Jag with a 350 Chev, where you can go and see the pictures of that for sale. And you had a C10 pickup.
Yes, that's right. A 4x4. Man, that thing was rad.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty rad.
Yeah, very
All right,
American.
so
My one for this week is way under the 5K, so it's $2,500 dues.
but I think there should be
means-
bonus points if you go
It
like
should be.
under.
Well, you can spend the rest of that money on it because let's be honest, it's going to need it.
Yep.
But it's a 1978 Mark 1 1.5 litre diesel Golf in booger green. I think it's pretty awesome. I love those Mark 1s.
That's the project one, right? With the father
Yeah,
son
the
project?
father son
Yeah,
planned to build it and it never happened, which
Yeah.
is fairly common for.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say anything. That Festy's been sitting in front of my shed for a year and a bit now. It hasn't been touched.
Yeah.
It's the plan was to fix it up and never happened, but it's all there. It's not radioed.
Yep.
But looks like it runs. It'd be a pretty cool car.
Very nice.
Very cool
So my pick.
Sleeper, I reckon. Just like the Jag. You could make it into,
Yeah.
probably not with the diesel. Although rolling coal in it would be fucking
That would
hilarious.
be have a side bump on it.
Yeah. Maybe shoehorn a Cummins in there. Maybe cut down a Cummins into a 4. And,
Oh man. Oh, one of my friends in England is selling an old Cummins engine.
yeah.
Pretty rad.
Yeah. Well, I suppose in WA it's Cat engines rather than Cummins.
Yeah, that's true.
A friend of mine that's got a shop just down the road, which I would rather not mention, but he has a couple of Cat engines there that he has grand plans to put in road-going vehicles at some stage. So that'll be pretty cool.
All right, so my pick is a 1982 V8 380
Oh,
SEL.
Benz.
$3,000. Now, the reason I picked this is I looked at a few cars. It looks pretty good condition,
Yeah, pretty stocky.
but check this out. It has
sheepskins.
factory
sheepskins.
Mercedes sheepskin
Wow.
covers for the seats.
With the Mercedes logo.
Mercedes logo.
And you
And
still have the
the-
ski port.
Yep, the
in
ski
the back,
port
so-
armrest in the back still folds
That's
down.
pretty cool.
I saw that and I was like, dude, you would be riding in absolute luxury.
Yeah. So 20-inch wires on it and airbags.
Yes, yeah.
I reckon that'd be the go for
Has
that.
cruise control, ABS, power windows, sunroof, self-leveling suspension, long wheelbase.
Some's already got airbags.
Oh boy,
So
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can-
aftermarket controller.
You could jump into them, and modify them. That'd be pretty cool.
Yep, $3,000 V8.
$3,000
Be
V8.
slow as shit, but you'd be balling.
Yeah. I don't know about Mercedes V8s. I don't know if they'd be good. Or...
Yeah.
I mean, look, the new modern
I've
ones.
heard mixed reviews.
I saw a C63 in a shop that does polishes a few weeks back. Actually, the guy really wants to come on the show and talk about his products, which we'll have on at some stage. But yeah, very cool. Very cool. And the modern V8 ones sound really nice.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I think it was actually a black edition as well. Which is,
Oh, boy.
yeah, very cool. Okay, so that about wraps it up. So just going back over the stuff we've talked about, we talked about you being Rice, me being Muscle, and still being friends, which we hope people out there can do the same.
Yes, and love to have a discussion about this in the comments.
Absolutely, yeah. Put all your
So yeah, head over to our socials and we'll have some discussions over there. Obviously, you can't comment on a Spotify video or wherever you're listening or watching. But yeah, head over to our Facebook or our Instagram and we'll have a chat.
which is just the Pod Filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll be able to find us fairly easy. So we had a chat about that. We had a load of chat about YouTube, and we're really looking forward to future episodes on those shows. And we encourage you guys to go and have a look at those shows that we talked about. We haven't really touched on the fringe shows yet that we want to introduce people to as well. Maybe for the next episode, we'll
Some of the underdogs.
we'll talk about some of the little less known, particularly Engines and Unfinished Business. They're building an MR2 back in your old neck of the woods in England. And me and Gemma sent them a load of Aussie stuff for a laugh.
Oh,
so they got Vegemite and Australian breakfast tea and stuff like that. It was kind of cool. So they did an unboxing on their channel and stuff. Yeah, very cool. And there's a second one of them going to Cross-Threaded in the US. Who also do a really good podcast. Another one to listen to if Pod Filter isn't enough to fill out your week podcast, definitely go and listen to Cross-Threaded. Megan
Who are
and Jim.
available on Spotify as well.
Yeah, where all good
recently,
podcasts are found. Yeah. Okay, and so we don't know who's winning for Fun for 5K yet.
We do. It's me.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. And in other news, fucking things are flying. And then, right, so episode 3, which will be the next one, we're a little bit up in the air. We're just trying to lock down some people to be in. It's kind of difficult for a Monday night. Most people don't want to come to a pub on a Monday night, which is.
But we will work it out. We will work through it.
We'll get something. We'll definitely have someone for you, and that's about it. So you want to say see ya?
Goodbye.
See you when I'm looking at you.
See when I'm looking at you.
That's it. And so Simon, roll the outro music.
Outro.
It would actually be kind of funny if you just didn't put any of the music in.
Yeah, we just
said, or we could hum tunes.
to be fair, I absolutely love, completely off topic, but Casey Neistat is collabing long term with a guy called Dan Mace. He's moved there. And there's this long running joke that he was supposed to do an intro for Tech Tuesday.
Right.
Because what the original plan was that Dan was going to edit Casey's videos after he filmed them.
Okay.
So Casey's like, and Dan, roll the Tech Tuesday intro. And then it just cuts to Dan in his living room like, not done one. Tech Tuesday. Next week I'll have one. And just every week he hasn't done one. And it's just this ongoing joke now. So
we could just scribble it on cardboard and wave it in front of the sky.
It's probably more efficient than me doing it. So
it'd be very my shit car.
Yeah.
Which kind of, I haven't seen any unicorn circuit stuff in ages. Yeah. I suppose they're busy. Yeah.
Amen.
They did release it as a podcast.
Yep.
Not that it really works because it's a very visual show.
It's very visual.
They have stuff from the internet and all the rest of it. But yeah.
So outro music, go.
I'm not sure if I want to tell this joke. I'll probably get in trouble. Have you heard this joke?
No, I didn't have a chance to read it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, don't read it. I'll tell you. Yeah. So there's a penguin driving along in his car, and he notices the engine check light come on. So clearly he's driving a Volkswagen or something.
Right.
He gets out and sees that there's oil dripping out from the motor. So he drives to the nearest town, and he stops to find a auto shop. So sees one that's open, drops in, and drops the car off. And the guy fixing it says, "Look, we're a bit backed up. Can you give us 20 minutes and we'll check it out for you?" So he leaves the car, goes wandering through the town. Nice seaside town. Goes and has some fish and chips. And then on his way back, he comes across an ice cream shop. So he decides to get himself an ice cream. Yeah, as a bit of a treat, since he's had a shit day because his car's broken down. Anyway, he comes back to the mechanic shop. And as soon as he walks through the door, the mechanic goes, "Oi, mate, you look like you've blown a seal." And he goes, No, it's just ice cream, honestly.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah, okay. So, maybe cut that one.
That's staying in. So if you stayed this long,
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.